Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers and learners. Welcome you to my online class. I hope all of you are hale and hearty by the grace of Almighty. Due to continuous spreading of corona pandemic, we have to continue our online classes. And this is why I'm standing in front of you to give a little gist of our previous lively, joyous and fruitful class. So let's enjoy. Okay, today I want to take a class on completing sentence. Due to time limitation, I will discuss some important topics. So enjoy. Dear students, I have written here three important relative pronouns. You see, ho, home, hose. They are the three important relative pronouns which are used after person expressing noun. As it is a relative pronoun, before it we have to use antecedent. Now you can ask me, what is antecedent? An antecedent is a word that a pronoun indicates in the sentence. Now I give you a structural example. If we use ho, then before ho there is an antecedent, and after we have to use verb plus object. So we have to remind that if after the antecedent there is a ho, then we have to use verb plus object. But when after the antecedent we see home, then we have to use a noun or a subject which has no affinity with the antecedent, which has no affinity or association. Subject without having association or relation with antecedent. Subject plus verb plus object. But when we see after the antecedent hose, then we have to use a noun which has a relationship or affinity with the antecedent. Has the relationship with the antecedent. Okay, hose plus noun which has the close relationship with the antecedent plus verb plus extension. So we can say before the relative pronoun there is an antecedent, and after that while we using ho we have to use verb plus object. While we see before home there is an antecedent, we have to use after such relative pronoun home subject which has no affinity or association or relation with the antecedent, then we have to use verb plus extension. But when we see whose after the antecedent, we have to use noun which has the relationship with antecedent, then we have to use verb plus extension. Now have a look. Example. A teacher is a person. If we saw in an incomplete sentence end with ho, then we have to use verb plus object. So a teacher is a person who teaches us. But when we see at the last of the incomplete sentence home, then we have to use a subject which has no relationship with the antecedent. A teacher is a person whom we respect most. But when we see an incomplete sentence end with whose, then we have to use a noun which is related with the antecedent. A teacher is a person whose duty is to teach us. Dear student, here we use whose, and then we have to use a noun which has a close affinity with the antecedent. After that we have to use verb plus extension. So I think you will fill up if you see such kind of relative pronoun after the end of an incomplete sentence. Mind that who is a subjective form, whom is a objective form, and whose is a possessive form. So while we using such type of relative pronoun, we have to remind in mind that after who we have to use verb, and when we use home we have to use verb after the subject, and when we use possessive form such as whose, then we have to use noun which has a close affinity with the antecedent. Okay, here is another important topic, as long as. We use as long as to refer to the intended duration of a plan or idea, most commonly referring to the future. We always use the present simple to refer to the future as long as. It is also means provided that. When we see as long as in the middle of an incomplete sentence, such as long as we have to use main clause, and after that we have to use subordinate clause, clause, clause. Here I give you an example. Wait here as long as. Here give you dash. So when I see as long as at the end of an incomplete sentence, we have to use subordinate clause with a suitable expression. Here, wait here as long as it rains. It rains. Now I give you another example. Allah will save us as long as what will be the answer? Yes, as long as we do not forget him. Okay, Allah will save us as long as we do not forget him. So you should practice such type of exercise in your books. As long as is like as, provided that. So you have to practice more. Here is another important topic of completing sentence: lest. The conjunction lest is not very common in modern English. The word has a negative meaning. Therefore, it should not be used with not. The only auxiliary verb that can be followed lest is only should. Here I give you structure. Before lest we can use any tense. Any tense. Lest. Then we have to use subject plus should or might, same meaning, plus V1 which indicates present form of verb, plus extension. So any tense, after that lest, and then subject plus should or might plus present form of verb, and then extension. I give you an example. Walk fast. Lest. What will be the another clause? We have to use subject. Subject will be you. Then we can use should or might. You should. We have to use a suitable, meaningful word. Walk fast, lest you should miss your school bus. School bus. Okay. Now another example. You have to avoid mistake, lest. Then what will be the another clause? We have to use suitable clause by using this structure. Subject, you have to avoid mistake lest you should or might fail in the exam. So I think you will get a clear idea. While using let, it give a negative meaning. So like this structure you have to practice more and more from your textbook. As if, as though. We use as if, as though to make a comparison. They have a similar meaning. We use as if or as though to talk about an imaginary situation or a situation that not be true, but that is likely or possible. Actually, it indicates unreal past. Here I give you the structure. If the first clause is present tense, present, then as if or as though. If the first clause is present tense and it ends with as if or as though, then we have to complete the an incomplete sentence with subject plus verb to plus object, or subject plus where plus object. But when the first clause is past and ends with as if or as though, the last clause will be subject plus head plus v3 plus extension or object, then or subject plus headwind plus extension. Here I give you two structure, and each structure has alternative structure. Now I give you some example. Number 1, he talks as if. I can use as if because it is most common. He talks as if. The another clause will be subject he plus v2, which indicates past form of verb. He knew. I have to use a suitable clause. Knew everything. Okay, now I give you another example of past tense. He talked as if or as though. He subject had plus v3 known everything. Okay. Two structure and two example. Now I give you alternative example, please. Okay. He talks as if. Now I have to use this structure. He talks as if he were a maid. Now we can use this structure. He talked. First clause will be past tense. He talked as if subject plus had been plus object or extension. Okay, I hope you can understand easily, and you have to practice also such type of exercise from your textbook. Here is another important topic of completing sentence: in spite of or despite. In spite of or despite have the similar meaning. They express contrast between two things. They are both more common in writing than speaking. Despite is a little more formal than in spite of. The structure will be spite of or despite. Plus possessive form of pronoun, possessive form plus noun or verb ing plus ... The structure will be subject plus verb plus extension. The structure is in spite of or despite plus possessive form of noun or pronoun plus noun or verb ing plus extension, and another structure of the clause will be subject plus verb plus suitable extension. Now have a look some example. In spite of his poverty. In spite of his poverty, then we have to complete the another part of the sentence, subject plus verb. He is honest. Okay, now I give you another example. In spite of his being overweight, in spite of his being overweight, what will be the another part of the clause? In spite of his, try to understand the meaning. In spite of his being overweight, he was very fast. Okay, I think you understand the structure of the topic in spite of or despite. I hope you will do some exercise from your textbook, and the more you practice, the more it will be clear. Okay, dear students, that's all from today. I will discuss another few important topic of completing sentence in my next class. Till then, Allah Hafiz.